Christopher, so a little while ago you put out a video called When She's Not Interested.
In what? What is she not interested in?
Sex.
Okay.
So this, not surprisingly, got a lot of views.
Yeah.
I mean, I would watch it, just even though I know you, I would have clicked on that. And because I've been married for 20 years and I know a lot of the ups and downs of trying to deal with sexual intimacy in marriage and trying to be a good Catholic and navigate that. It's hard going because our culture does not help us at all. And you and I both know, even within the church, there's not been a good culture of addressing this and leading people to the beauty and the glory and the wonder of what sexual intimacy really is meant to be.
Yeah, where do we even go to talk about these things?
Well, you come to the Theology of the Body Institute.
Right, we're trying to provide a forum where we can actually talk about it.
Exactly. So over the years, you do an amazing job of unfolding John Paul II's vision of sexuality and what it means to be human and the implications of that, and you do a great job in so many different ways. So I want to actually go back to that video and grab a couple comments out of it.
Let's do it.
Because these are comments that aren't going to surprise. They didn't surprise me. They're not going to surprise you. Sure. Because over the years of doing this, these are typical reactions, or even my reaction at times, to my own struggles. So I think it'd be good for us to talk into that a little bit.
Sure.
All right, here's one comment that says, I can't read the whole thing, but the beginning of it says, okay, I'm just going to call BS because it's not wrong or disordered to want to have sex with your wife. It's natural. And then he goes on and he talks about how they had a really difficult period in their life. They were contracepting. They didn't have a lot of faith. They started to get better in that area of their life. They actually had a period of a year where they didn't have sexual relations and how difficult and painful that was for him. So let's talk about that just for a minute, because I think...
Read that statement again. It's not wrong. I call BS. It's not wrong to...
It's not wrong or disordered in any way to want to have sex with your wife. It's natural.
Okay, so I would pause right there and say we have to take into account the real possibility that in our fallen humanity, the desire that we have for sex with our wives could be coming from a place that is fallen and broken. And if we act on that, it can really wound our wives. John Paul II, his Theology of the Body, when he was unfolding it in the late 70s and early 80s, didn't draw much attention globally until... I believe it was October 8th, 1980, when John Paul II said, a man can commit adultery in the heart with his own wife if he treats her as nothing but an object to satisfy his lust. And this caused headlines around the world, newspapers saying things like, Pope condemns sex even in marriage. One editorial said, well, if a man can't lust after his wife, who can he lust after? And of course, the proper response to that question is no one. But what the secular world wasn't understanding is that lust is not the only way to engage in the sexual act. So when this guy says there's nothing wrong with a husband desiring to have sex with his wife, it's natural, we just have to push pause there and make some distinctions and qualifications. There's nothing wrong with a husband desiring to be a gift to his wife in the sexual act as Christ is a gift to the church. Because that's what we're called to. If we're going to put the bar where it belongs, that's where it belongs. And we're all going to recognize, if we're honest and looking at our hearts, if that's what we're called to, holy shnikey, I'm not there. But I have to go on a journey, which is called, in church speak, we call this the law of gradualness, where we gradually make progress towards what we're called to with the help of grace and with inner purifications. But that's a journey. We can't confuse that, John Paul II says, with the gradualness of the law, where we bring the standard down to the level of our weakness and then justify our behavior and say, well, there's nothing wrong. It's just natural for me to want to have sex. Well, what kind of sex are you having? Is this going to look more like a porn movie? Or is this going to be a true gift of yourself? So we just have to make those distinctions.
For sure. And I would say, too, maybe you can talk about this for a minute, because you're so good at this, too, which is, okay, you have a natural desire. That's I would agree with that. There's absolutely, as Christians, there is a natural, we desire.
We are wired this way.
Praise be to God. We're wired that way.
But we're also fallen.
That's right. And so that desire for sex, I think what you're saying is incredibly important. We got to examine our own hearts. We got to examine ourselves. What am I really wanting there? But you talk too about, when you talk about desire, you talk about going to the depth of desire. And I think oftentimes with sex, we just don't even know what that means. I mean, with any desire, but when we talk about sexual desire, or, to say it's natural to want to have sex with my wife, yes, it is. Amen, it is. But what is that desire really after? Am I just after an orgasm? And am I just after a good feeling? Am I just after, certain things about that experience? Now, those things aren't necessarily wrong, but is that what I'm really after?
Right.
What am I really looking for? And that's what has to orient that whole activity. That whole action of intimacy with my wife needs to be oriented not by the surface desire or what might be the initial inclination or what turns me on or what attracts me or a desire for pleasure. What am I really after in that? Can you talk into that for a minute?
I think I just speak from my own experience here. There are, as you're saying, different layers of desire here. But if I go down into the depths of what's really going on in here, I want to be seen. I want to be known. I want to be received in my essence. I want the essence of me to be received with utter delight and celebrated and rejoiced in. And I have come to recognize it's true at a biological level, but it's not just biology, it's also theological. It's anthropological, meaning it has to do with the truth of who God is and has to do with the truth of who I am, that my seed presses out. That's what the word express means. You're pressing out. Your seed carries the essence of you.
Yeah.
And you want, I just speak for myself. And this intimate stuff, I mean,
it is.
Lord, protect this.
And there's no way for us to be nuanced.
Yeah,
in
it's
all the
hard.
right
I mean,
ways, but
I'm making myself
we try
vulnerable
to
here
be,
because
for sure.
I want to speak into it in as
Absolutely.
much as is appropriate. And where's that line? I don't know. So here we go. To give your seed to a woman and to have her receive that seed into her womb with delight, with open, wild delight in the gift I have given, for her to celebrate the gift I have given, for her to receive my seed, is for her in the deepest sense of not just some physical sensation, but really understanding the meaning of what is your seed. What are you giving? The essence of yourself. You want it to be delighted in. You want the essence of you to be seen, received, rejoiced in, celebrated, loved, affirmed. The human heart needs that, is created for that.
And when it doesn't get it,
it hurts.
Brutal.
It is brutal.
Brutal.
And it when it's not received, it is the antithesis of the joy that can come from when it is received.
Yeah, good way to put it.
When it's not received, you experience the antithesis, which is the crushing of that essence, the rejection of that inmost place. And that's brutal. So I think it just needs to be said that when we're at that place of yearning for my essence to be known, received, embraced, rejoiced in, and that doesn't happen, that is a terrible wound. And then the man can go to extremes where you will receive me. You will not reject me. I will not go through that pain again. We can't just say it's normal, it's natural, my wife needs to receive me. We have to be willing to let the light of true love. What does it mean truly to love my wife as Christ loves the church? That's what we're called to. That's the bar. Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church. And I have to allow that bar, the light of that truth, to shine into my heart, to purify the sentiments of my desire. That's what JP2 was talking about when he said a husband can commit adultery in his heart with his own wife if he treats her only as an object for his selfish pleasure. And a guy can't simply say, well, I'm fine because this is just normal and natural, if what he's saying is normal and natural is lust, is a desire to use the woman, his wife, for a selfish motive. That's not all right. That's
So what often gets confused, though, is I think what guys hear a lot is when you say the word lust, they translate that to desire.
yes.
Automatically.
Okay, let's qualify this.
Because that's
Yes.
not what we're saying. That is a
Lust
massive
is not to be
mistake.
equated with erotic desire, right? God created erotic desire. Lust is an inversion of what God created. And we see this in the book of Genesis. They were naked without shame. Why were they naked without shame? Because erotic desire was not an experience of lust. To put it in the language of the church, we could say this: in the beginning, eros, erotic desire, expressed agape, sacrificial love. That's why they were naked and felt no shame. Shame enters the picture when eros gets disconnected from agape. Christ comes to fix in our humanity what is broken. But if we're just saying, I don't need to be fixed, I'm fine just as I am, well, that's going to be a source of real friction and tension in the marriage.
And it's always, we talk about this a lot, you and I. It's never black and white here. It's always a matter of degrees. The degree to which I am broken,
Correct.
degree to which I'm on the path to
Correct.
grace and holiness, is the degree to which I'm going to experience these things. So, and I know one thing I've learned in my marriage is that marriage is the pathway. It's not the I've arrived ever, ever. It's the constant reminder.
Yes.
I haven't arrived, and I'm on the journey. So these struggles, as brutal as they are not opportunities for us to despair and give up. They're opportunities for us to recognize, as Catholics who believe in the power of grace and the sacrament of marriage, that I'm on the journey, and in that broken place, here's where I need that grace. I need the grace of my sacrament right here. That desire for sexual union, just like you were saying, I think the question is, where is that cut off in me from its real purpose of Holy Communion with my wife and with God? Wherever that's cut off, life-giving Holy Communion, wherever that desire is cut off, that's where I'm lusting. Now, it's not the desire itself that's bad. It might be disordered, but the lust in my heart is where I'm cutting it off for what it's really meant to be. And that's what's so amazing about the theology of the body. John Paul II, go back to the beginning, before sin.
Yeah.
What did God mean this to be in the beginning? Let's not have the broken, sinful experience as the norm.
Correct. And here we have to understand that lust is a reduction of what John Paul II calls the fullness of eros. Right? Lust reduces that experience to something selfish, to something base, rather than, I'll just quote John Paul II. He says, Christ wants us to experience the fullness of eros, which implies the upward impulse of the human spirit towards what is true, what is good, and what is beautiful, so that, this is again John Paul II, so that what is erotic becomes true, good, and beautiful. Yeah. And that's what the man wants, that's what the woman wants. But we're fallen. We have reduced that fullness in our fallenness. The good news of the gospel is that Christ calls us back to that fullness. You know how much wine Jesus brought to that celebration? If you do the math, it's like 750 bottles of wine.
Yeah.
The goal here for a husband and wife is to drink up and get intoxicated on divine love. The marriage bed is meant to be an experience of a taste of the infinite ecstasy of divine love in and through their bodies, exploding in their orgasmically glorious marital union. That's what it's supposed to be. And we reduce it to, I've got an itch and I want you to scratch it. And if you don't scratch it, you're going to piss me off.
Yeah.
And you better scratch it. Well, it's part of the fallen makeup of a man that we can reduce it to that level. And a woman can as well. But I'm just speaking from the male perspective here. When we reduce it to that, the woman has to guard her heart against being treated as a thing. And when she's opening her legs, but she's closing her heart, she's rupturing herself.
Yeah.
The only way she can open her heart at the same time she's opening her legs is if she can trust that the man really is going to be a gift to her. I will never leave you. I will never forsake you. I want to affirm and bless your essence. I want to come into the secret places of your heart, to taste the glory that is there, to see you there and love you there and affirm you there. A woman who can trust that she's being loved there can open up and wants to open up to that kind of love.
I love what you're saying about reduction of desire, because I think it can go as far, and we see this in our culture. We see it in our own lives. We experience it in different ways, but we see it in the culture. It can go as far as actually eliminating desire as well.
That's right.
To the
That's
point,
right.
and maybe in general, these are generalities. Holy cow! Each person is unique and different, but in general, maybe we could say women experience an elimination of desire, whereas men in their reduction of desire experienced more of a disordered, heightened domination of desire or something like that. But it's an expression of the same reality, broken reality. I'm not being loved. I'm not being accepted. And I think something I've experienced in my marriage too. Now this is, I want, please hear me right. There's no way for me to be as sensitive as I can with this. But if we understand that God created sexual desire, that he gave this to us to ultimately be a sacramental living out of our call to union with him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the ultimate expression of that is Jesus on the cross, his giving his body for us. Then the sacrifice of a man or a woman in marriage for their broken spouse can also, and I say this with sensitivity because we're never meant to be used. However, even if I know my spouse is disordered, has a disordered desire for me, the truth is every spouse has a disordered desire for the other to some degree.
To some degree, yes.
Right? So, but even if I know there's a serious disorder there, maybe, that's a big qualifier, maybe the answer is to open my heart to Jesus, unite myself with him on the cross, and give myself as an offering to my wife or to my husband so that they experience, even in their brokenness, a gift of selfless love. And that can be a powerful channel of grace and healing. And in some ways, I think maybe that's what, like this guy's comments, after a year off and his wife apologizing even, and saying, I'm sorry I did that to you. Maybe that's part of what he was experiencing. I'm with you. I would constantly go further and ask the man and myself and you to constantly be challenging ourselves too. Man, am I objectifying my wife and am I just looking for pleasure?
Yeah.
Yes, always do that. But at the same time, there's something in that experience of his wife made a decision to honor him and love him, and that had a profound impact on him. And to the extent that we can open that up to God, it becomes a pathway to heaven,
to grace, to grace that transforms. I want to say yes to everything you just said. Plus, because I'm always thinking in my head about other experiences I've had and people I've encountered and what their pains and wounds have been. And no, we didn't mean that. I'm thinking of a woman right now. This is a very real situation. She was in a marriage where her husband was repeatedly dominating her. And I think the term rape is not a misnomer for what he was doing to his wife. Yeah. And she has experienced profound trauma as a result. The marriage ended. There's been an annulment. But she was often told by priests in the thick of that horrific dysfunction, advice like, well, he's your husband. You need to submit.
Yeah, this is horrible. And of course, I'm not.
Of course, you're not saying that.
I know you're not saying that. I am not saying that at all. And this is a great qualification.
Yeah, because it just demonstrates how many nooks and crannies you need to get into in all dimensions here to try to cover this in a holistic, balanced way, which is a testimony to how complex the
Yes.
human heart is, and how wounded the human heart is, and how deep the human heart is.
And how powerful
Boom. Yeah.
and holy sexual intimacy is and is meant to be from the beginning.
Yes, yes. The fact that it can be so wounding,
That's right.
is the testimony on the flip side
Yeah.
of how holy it is,
Yes.
and how powerful it is in God's plan
Yeah.
to bring us to the very heights of divine intimacy.
Yeah.
And this is why the enemy is after our sexuality, to prevent us from entering those heights of divine intimacy.
So again, we could talk forever about this, but I would say just a few things, food for thought. If you're in that position, or if you're having a similar response to what this response was that I read, a couple things from me would be, great humility is required in marriage. Great mercy is required on the other and on ourselves. Always look at our own hearts first before we blame somebody else.
Yeah.
That should ring some scriptural bells for people.
Yeah.
Always do that. Always be willing to go before the Lord and be on that journey and opening your own heart to Jesus first before you're expecting your spouse to meet a need that only God can meet. And this is why personal prayer is so important. Prayer together as spouses is so important. Prayer together as spouses before and after you're intimate sexually and during, and to the point where sexual intimacy is a prayer.
It is a prayer. It's meant to be a prayer.
We talked about that on a different video as well. So prayer is liturgical. I gave a talk on that on our virtual conference in 2021.
The marital embrace is what you meant to say is liturgical.
The marital embrace, yes, exactly. So I just encourage our listeners and watchers just to take this to prayer. Take those desires to prayer. What you said about don't reduce it. Open it up to the fullness of desire. What is it really meant to be? Go on that journey of redemption and healing, and be honest. Be honest with it. So keep going on the journey. We have a lot of opportunities for you. Watch other videos. Check out other things that we have. It's just our way of trying to help all of us go on that journey together.
Amen.
Amen.